many conservatives pride themselves on their movement being a big tent that allows various people with various ideas in, and that's kind of what you have to do to have a big tent. You know, the more you want to grow that tent, the more you have to get rid of any principles that might stand in the way of different people coming into that tent. And yeah, if your tent is big enough to include Tucker Carlson, there is something wrong with your movement. Of course, there is something wrong with the movement anyway. But yesterday, in a memorial service for Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson was one of the speakers. We're going to focus on what he said and the fact that he was there. But we will probably mention some of the other stuff that was there that was unsurprisingly unsavory. Welcome to the reality show. I'm joined by Daniel Kraus and Stuart Margolis. Stuart, your first thoughts on the spectacle yesterday before we go to any clips?
Um, yeah, I mean, it was predictably horrifying. I was actually surprised that Tucker Carlson was there. They didn't apparently invite Candace Owen, so I guess the tent isn't infinitely big, but Tucker's, you know, pretty out there, and his comments were, yeah. I mean, he said other things like this. He's clearly just a nut job at this point. Uh, he should never have been included, but as you said, this is part of the big tent that Republicans have embraced.
Yeah, and I think the reason Candace wasn't there is because she did used to work with Charlie Kirk. They went their separate ways. She couldn't wait until the body was cold before she started speaking in his name and saying things that, only he could say are not true and was no longer there to say that.
Uh,
Yeah, but that's me speculating. I wasn't involved in organizing the event. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll talk about Tucker, but just the general thing about this whole memorial, something really is kind of weird. And I understand to some extent because Charlie Kirk was a big conservative figure, of course, he will have a lot of personal friends within the conservative movement. But the amount of, I think like half of the speakers, or even more than half, were like actual like officials, especially somebody like Tulsi Gabbard. I have no idea why she was even speaking out. She's not even Republican technically. Like she was a Democrat for a long time, so even that's kind of weird. And yeah, if you go by list, it's I don't know. This whole thing sort of irked me the wrong way. The way it's been taken over as like a political thing, which to some extent it is, but still.
Yeah, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard has been the Republicans' favorite token Democrat for a while. She's, with whatever the Republican Party has become in the last decade, she fits that. So,
well, RFK is up there too.
yeah.
He's a
Uh,
Republican Democrat.
and Trump himself, who was a lifelong Democrat until, until he saw the Republican Party as the party where he could win.
Yeah, but
All right.
with Trump at least, Charlie Kirk and Trump were a bit closer for at least since Trump was elected as a president.
Oh
That's
yeah,
why.
I wasn't talking about him being there. I was talking about him being a Democrat.
No. Well,
Um,
that's a new Republican Party.
what?
That's the new Republican Party. It's just a bunch
Yeah.
of Democrats, apparently.
Yeah, the old one wasn't great, but this is next level. Anyway, let's hear from from some of the speakers, from actually from Tucker.
Ultimately, he was a Christian evangelist. And it actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us. We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I could just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem.
All right. I like, Daniel, how you kept that laugh there in at the end. Stuart, yeah, you want to?
I mean, I just that laugh is deranged. I mean, if you saw that just in isolation, you'd be like, yes, this person is seriously mentally ill. No sane person laughs like that. That's just nuts.
Yeah, I was watching earlier a clip of him and Cenk Uygur in a conversation, a clip from a few days ago that I was thinking we might do a show about, although it won't be tomorrow because I need a few days between Tucker shows. But yeah, he does this laugh all the time, and but the thing is, maybe the laugh is there to kind of distract you from the words, because the words there are the Jews did it. That's a long-winded way of saying the guy who was caught, who we know killed Charlie Kirk. We know that. That is, he will have a fair trial and everything, but we know who did it. Didn't actually do it, or I don't know the exact conspiracy theory, and I don't actually care. But the point is, and you see a lot of this actually in the anti-Israel right, which is not the entire right as opposed to the left, which is entirely anti-Israel. You see a lot of this. The Jews also, here's a bunch of other stuff. They're big now on the Jews did 9/11 conspiracy theory. The Jews killed Kennedy. Whatever something happens that isn't to their liking, it is the Jews. That's a big chunk of the right now.
Yes, it is. And I would say a big chunk also is trying to make this killing about, the left killed Kirk. It's like, no, this individual killed Kirk. The left did not kill. There's bad ideas on both sides that I'm sure contributed to this man having such a horror. I mean, I can't even imagine what his mind must be like to have come to this point. But it's completely collectivist, their whole approach. And even before he was caught, Trump goes on television and blames the whole thing on the left. It's just collectivist, thoroughgoing collectivism.
It is collectivism to blame it on the left. I would say it is absolutely left-wing ideas that if applied, to their fullest extent, yeah, you kill people. That's that. But another thing is having any clear left-right spectrum is a problem in and of itself, because collectivism is something that whatever is considered the left and the right today unanimously agree on. Collectivism and tribalism, and what they disagree on is which tribe should you fight for. But yeah, political violence is in line with those principles. It's a good thing that those principles aren't followed through. This is also what I often say when people talk about Islam and Islamic terrorism. Yeah, it's great that not all Muslims are terrorists. That's a good thing. But it is, if you look at the proper application of Islam, if you look at the prophet who founded the religion, the ideal human, according to Muslims, yeah, terrorism is the way. So as I always say, if you have evil principles, it's good if you're not fully principled and you don't fully apply them. But it's better to actually have good principles. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how thought out Tucker Carlson's speech was. Because if you take it in like a really bad way, well, first he talks about how it's his favorite story ever. Really? The Jews killing Jesus supposedly is his favorite story ever? That already tells a lot about the person. But even the way he compares it to the murder of Charlie Kirk. Now, I'm no theologian and we don't have James Valiant here, but in some parts of Christianity, Jesus had to die for our sins for us to be able to get redemption, right? That's the whole story of Jesus. Comparing that to Charlie Kirk is kind of scary what he might be trying to imply. Like, what is this? Like, what's coming? Uh, so that's already like super weird angle. But yeah, the most important part is the fact that this is remembrance of Charlie Kirk, and the story he brings up is an anti-Semitic blood libel, the idea that Jews killed Jesus, and he's trying to connect it to the murder of Charlie Kirk. That some people, and this is the worst part. This is what, and I think even Ayn Rand talked about this: the fact that when things are undefined, it's where evil wins. And here is what Tucker is doing, right? He doesn't say Jews killed Charlie Kirk. He does this, well, some, he doesn't even say Jews, right? The hummus eating people. I mean, again, like, what is this? Like some people eating hummus in Jerusalem. Like, I'm wondering who might be thinking of. And some people, I think, try to defend him that he meant the Romans. And I'm like, come on, he didn't mean the Romans.
Yeah, whenever I go to an Italian restaurant, the first thing I order is hummus. No, he meant we know what he meant. Yeah, Veled says I was eating hummus 5 minutes before Tucker Carlson said that. So what you're saying is Tucker Carlson was right. No, kidding. All right. More clips, Daniel.
Sure. Do you want to hear Trump?
Oh, are we already moving on from Tucker? Wait, Stuart, do you have anything to add on Tucker?
Um, just that, I mean, if you've been paying attention to Tucker the last few years, really, it's not surprising. I mean, he's fully as nutty as Candace Owen. I mean, the two of them have jointly just gone off the deep end. So,
Yes, which is, by the way, why I fully understand our audience when they're upset with us and should be upset mostly with me when we have a Candace Owens as the topic twice within 3 days last week, and now we're talking about Tucker Carlson. But look, these people get millions of views, millions of people listen whenever they talk, and many of those millions agree with them. And agree might be a big word because, it's not like they fully think it through and then they're like, yes, that makes sense. It goes in their ears and it becomes their opinion. And people act on their opinions. So it is important to listen to what these people say and point out what it is that they're doing.
Well, I guess before we go to next clip, we can talk a little bit more about this Big Ten conservatism, because I was thinking of that. I was trying to find a reasonable person on the right, and so far I wasn't really able to find like a pro-Trump sort of like reasonable figure, because and what I mean, like, supportive of his policies. Because take somebody who doesn't agree with Trump on tariffs, who doesn't agree with the way deportation is being done, who doesn't agree with now the sort of free speech stuff that is starting to happen, doesn't agree with Intel ownership, and you just go down the list of doesn't agree with his new budget, doesn't agree with what he's speaking. And that person is almost not a Republican. Like, take a person like John Bolton. He's completely ostracized by most of the Republican Party. So I think this is what happens when you have these, not even principles, but these really bad ideas. It's somebody like Tucker Carlson has now closer to the Republican Party than somebody like John Bolton, mainly through basically, do you agree, or not even do you agree with Trump, but do you stand by Trump, whatever he does?
Yeah.
yeah, I
Big
mean,
fan of John Bolton, by the way. Yeah,
What?
Stuart.
I mean, the sort of the free market Republicans that used to exist have almost all been drummed out of the party. I mean, they, as Razi said, their old Republican Party had lots of problems, but there were at least some people that gave lip service to, smaller government, reducing spending, freeing markets, and those people almost unanimously have been just drummed out. They have no, they're not holding political office. They're not being listened to. some of they have podcasts. People like Adam Kinzinger has a podcast, but are the Republicans listening to it? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, on those rare occasions, I think it was Ted Cruz last week who pointed out that the problem with the Jimmy Kimmel situation, and it's on the one hand I'm thinking, oh, that's nice, and then I'm thinking, why am I thinking that's nice? Normally, you would expect, you know, uh, many in the party to say this is not an okay thing, and or at least to remember that a few months ago, it was less than a year ago, that they were complaining, and rightfully so, but apparently not for the right reason, about the Democrats doing just exactly the same thing. And yeah, it's shocking, it's frightening. I've seen people say, yeah, the Democrats did this, so now it's our turn. Well, why are you against them if you're agreeing with them on what needs to be done? Again, it's there are no principles.
No, it's all tribal.
Yeah.
Just quickly, Akira says, I would love to see a big tech Republican. Well, you've seen them right now, right? People like Mark Zuckerberg, even Jeff Bezos, a bunch of these big tech people, they were at Trump's inauguration. Many of Elon Musk, they've supported Trump's campaign. And what has happened to them? Either you completely agree with Trump, even when he completely goes against what you want. Elon Musk was kicked out of the government. And then Trump throws at you, hey, 100,000 for the H-1B visas. Enjoy that. So again, it's the same thing. You cannot, there is no ideas you can hold to be a Republican right now. It's, do you stand by Trump?
Yeah, that's the idea. That's it.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't blame the big tech people for doing this any more than I blame them for doing what the Democrats did. The government has the power of the gun. They are always under threat from these people. And Jeff Bezos, to his credit, did put out that statement about the new editorial policy of the Washington Post months ago, and he actually talked about free market and talked about like actual American ideals that nobody in the Republican Party talks about. If he ran for president and his campaign sounded anything like that letter, I would be all for him. Thank you, Roland, for the super chat. Roland says, "Don't tell this to Tucker, but I love hummus and I'm not a fan of Jesus." Unfortunately, we know that Tucker is a regular viewer of this show, so he already knows. All right, Daniel, what are we doing next?
We can do one of Trump's. Let's do this one.
It should be no surprise that Charlie, who spent his life speaking with the critics of these traditions, ultimately became convinced that we needed not just a political realignment, but also a spiritual reawakening. We did. And we have to bring back religion to America, because without borders, law and order, and religion, you really don't have a country anymore. We want religion brought back to America. We want to bring God back into our beautiful USA like never before. We want God back.
I know it's not funny, but when Trump talks about religion, like, in a sense, I'm more afraid on the religion part from politicians where I really believe that they care about, religion. But it sounds so like, come on, man, try harder.
I mean, this is a man who has broken most, if not all, of the 10 Commandments. I mean, it's just hilarious. But yeah, I mean, it's terrifying. But yeah, it's hilarious too.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I see something like this, I think there might be an actual thing called TDS, because I don't even know how to react to this. Like, there is this is the president of the United States talking about how we need to bring religion back to America. One of the, if not one of, probably the first state that openly stated the separation of church and state. And here is Here he is doing this speech not even on a like an official announcement, right? This is just a memorial for somebody else, and he just, by the way, mentions we need to bring religion back to America, while he is pushing FCC into shutting down free speech or very much influencing, while he threatens newspapers and sues like random lawyer groups. It's, you don't even know how to react because you're afraid of being called deranged. But I think somebody else is deranged here.
Um, so Akira says, play the Seinfeld theme, and yeah, anybody who's seen Seinfeld, that clip that we just saw, yeah, it needed that thing, the theme in the background that they had whenever Jerry was doing his stand-up, because it did sound like that. But yeah, we were talking about the Republican Party of yesteryear, of pre-Trump Republican Party. The one thing that's really left of it is the God part, and yeah, that's that's not a good thing. All right, Daniel.
Next one.
Yep.
Charlie Kirk truly was. He was a missionary with a noble spirit and a great, great purpose. He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent.
Yeah, all right.
Charlie's angry. Look at...
Yeah, okay. So Daniel and I had a phone conversation earlier, and we don't agree on that part. Like, if this was a rational person,
That's a big if.
I would think that's a good, yeah. But I would say, yeah, of course, you shouldn't. Well, depends what you mean by opponents. I would go with enemy over opponent, but yeah, I don't know if we're gonna see the Erica Kirk thing later, but to me, that her saying I forgive him about the murderer, that is evil. That is the philosophy from which such an approach comes is absolutely evil. You do not forgive him. This person deserves the death penalty and will hopefully get it. And when he does, that should be celebrated. So yeah, again, we know Trump is actually talking about his political opponents in some cases in the U.S., which is yeah, and we know what he does to his opponents. So as Trump, that is scary. But if it was a rational person, he could still utter those specific words, Stuart.
I think even a rational person uttering those at a memorial service is just inappropriate and poor taste. Even if everything he said were true, that's not what you're there for. That's, this isn't a political rally. This is a memorial service. So yeah, I think it's incredibly poor taste, even if it were rational. And coming from Trump, yeah, it's not remotely rational.
Yeah, I agree. I agree about it being in poor taste there, although at least from what we're seeing here, it was a very poor taste event. So
That's true. Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, for me, because and again, this is sort of like Ayn Rand's, when things are not defined. Like, who does he mean as the enemy? All of the left, like 50% of America, or the murderer, or the people like the murderer, the people, the person who killed Charlie Kirk, or a similar kind of terrorist. And this is sort of like the biggest problem, the fact that this has happened, one of the probably most influential political violence event that will be here. I mean, in some ways, let's hope this will be the biggest ever, in the sense that nothing like this will happen again. But one of the influential, and we have the president of the United States basically ramping up people. We need to hate them. We need to fight them. Never defining who, never saying what's going on, talking about them. And my question would be, if I could ask an honest question of Trump, is like, what does he want to happen? Or basically anybody that was in the either on the speaker stage, or even at the audience, or anybody who's listening to it. Like, what do you want to see happen in America, and what do you think will make that happen? Because ideally, we all want basically the violence to stop and the rhetoric to tone down, or just the violence to stop, right? And for that, I think the rhetoric needs to be toned down. Is what Trump is doing here helping that? That's sort of one of my most overarching themes.
Yeah, so
Sorry. Trump does not want to tone down the rhetoric, and I don't think he wants to tone down the violence. He wants the violence directed at his enemies. And I would, one thing you said I would disagree with. I don't think that this is the most significant act of political violence in recent memory. That was January 6th. This was really the act of one sad, angry person. As far as we can tell, it was not part of a movement. It may have been politically motivated, but we don't even know. There are probably mental health factors. We don't even know. But January 6th was political violence. People died in an effort to overturn a free election. That, to me, is largely forgotten. Deliberately so by Trump and his MAGA. But that's what happened. And that level of political violence, Trump doesn't have a problem with. Clearly, he pardoned the people that were responsible. Not just, if he had pardoned just the people that were, hanging around and got caught up in the spirit, whatever, broke some windows, but he pardoned people that beat police officers. He doesn't have a problem with political violence. He wants it directed against his enemies.
I'm with you on January 6th being the worst instance of political violence in living memory.
Just quickly, when I said recent, I meant like a year.
Okay.
You meant since January 7th, 2020.
Yeah.
No. It was the worst, but I think in terms of, it's clear to me that in terms of quantity, it comes more from the left. In terms of quality, it's the right is worse, and yeah, this will not end well. Like if that's what's going on, and that's how political discourse is. That's what it has become in the U.S.
Yeah, just quickly, if I can make on that point, because even in the chat, when January 6th is brought up, everybody brings up BLM riots. And it's hard to compare these two events if we are being realistic. BLM riots, yeah, I think the damages, I think, are over billion, like in the billions of dollars, right? It's hard to, so you have the material damages of like individual Americans, and then you have January 6th, an actual attempt of a sitting president to overturn an election. It's hard to compare those two.
It's apples and oranges.
People were murdered in the BLM riots. That is an important part to remember.
Sure, yeah.
Damage to property, but also, property can be you can get it back. You can't get back the lives that were taken in those riots.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bronx Guy Gun Hill Road, for the super chat. There were a few comments here I wanted to address. Ronald says, "Hey, ARCUK, do you think that Trump will end up getting Gavin Newsom and Cory Booker elected?" I think there's a very good chance that whoever is the Republican nominee next time around will lose because of what Trump is doing. Who the Democrats are planning on, having the Americans the misfortune of having as president, I don't know. But Stuart, you live there, so maybe you can speculate on what we can expect in 2028.
It's hard to know, but I think Gavin Newsom has got to be on the top of the Democrats' list. So, yeah, very possible.
Great.
Well, sorry, and it could be even worse. I mean, they could end up, nominating AOC. So, unfortunately,
I don't think they would take their chances. I think AOC has been trying to sort of, I don't know if moderate is the right word, but sort of like become more of the Democratic establishment and sort of like push away the squad. But I don't think it's time. Although now would probably be her best chance, because whoever is following Trump is not Trump, and that will suck for Republicans.
I mean, pretending to be more moderate than you are is how you prepare for a presidential run. And, AOC, I saw somewhere, maybe it was Facebook or something, a story about her planning to run. And, I see it and I see the laughing emojis and I'm going in to comment about it. And I saw that somebody had already made the comment that is people were laughing at Trump. So, yeah, this is very, very possible. And the worse Trump makes things for Americans, the more likely it is that they will go, further to the left. And um, I agree, Daniel. The Democratic Party as a political machine is much more, knows how to control itself much more than the Republicans. That's why Trump went to the Republicans in the first place, because he knew it's going to be easier to get elected. The Democrats the party knew how to keep Bernie Sanders from winning in his multiple attempts. So there is some chance that they will keep AOC out, but again, the worse things are, the more likely it is that you'll get something that seems to be as far away as possible from what they have now. Do you have more? I'm afraid to ask, but do you have more clips for us, Daniel?
We can listen to Miller. The whole thing is like 2 minutes, so we don't have to listen to the whole thing. You can just stop me when you want. Okay, I guess that's a yes.
We'll defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us. Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build.
Daniel, I'm mostly pausing you because the volume is too loud on that. Yeah, I mean, it was unpleasant anyway, but it's especially unpleasant in such a high volume. Stuart.
Oh man, he just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'm sorry. Yeah. Again, they're acting as though the left killed Charlie Kirk, not that this individual killed. They're using this as an attempt to vilify, half the country, dehumanizing. They're nothing. They build nothing. Well, if they build nothing, then how come, California is the fourth largest economy in the world? It's just not true. There's a lot of mistaken ideas, but it's not like every person who considers themselves left or liberal is, just a moosher. It's just not true.
Stuart, have you ever seen HBO's Rome?
No. Is it good?
It's very good. I highly recommend it, but also I'm going to I'm mentioning it because that's pretty much my knowledge of time in history comes from there. And this very much reminds me of the speech that Mark Antony gave at Caesar's funeral, which actually wasn't shown in the series, but was mentioned and kind of the story was retold. Yeah, it felt kind of like that.
Well, talking about the aftermath of Caesar's death, that doesn't fill me with much confidence. Uh, but yeah, I mean, again, this is kind of like, and again, it's so broad and it's so like non-specific, like they. It's always they. Okay, let's say the left is the enemy. What then? What are you saying? Are you saying people should go out and do the same thing? That people should start killing each other, or should people just vote for the Republicans in the upcoming midterms? This is what is the scariest thing about when people are not non-specific, and especially with people like Stephen Miller, it's on purpose. He wants to do this. He wants to. I think I've seen somebody post something like, "Oh well, I won't mention it," but I think he's like another example. He was one of the people who was working with Trump during the first administration around January 6th as well. He is one of he was, I think, Trump's speechwriter for all of, or for a major part of his first presidency. So he is absolutely somebody who, again, for some reason, wants to bring up violence.
Trump's speeches are written? Thank you, Bull Moose, for the super
I'm not
chat.
sure if he read them, but
Yeah, I don't think he always reads them, but somebody's writing them.
Thank you, Bull Moose. Bull Moose says, I don't like Bernie, but he actually made a shockingly respectful response to Charlie Kirk's murder. Kind of the only time I respected him. Um, I haven't seen it. I saw that you sent it. Thanks, but I don't know. Look, you judge these people overall on what they do, and my judgment of Bernie is very, very negative, even if he surprisingly is against the murder of people who disagree with him.
yeah,
Bob,
I mean, when it comes to this one, there is not really like you do it, and it should be expected you do it, especially as a public official. Say, and I think pretty much everybody, came out and said, yeah, we do not support political violence. When it comes to any major political figure, all of them said so, and that is not something you should be like thankful for or sort of like praise. That's the standard.
That's
Like,
bare minimum
yeah.
for participating in a civilized society.
somebody in the chat says, "Is Razi a lib?" I go by libtard, but no, I'm a liberal in the actual sense of the word, not the sense in which the American left uses it, which they are as anti-liberal as can be. I'm gonna read this just because it's a nice compliment. PB Law says, "Rome was a great show. Razi must have been a baby. I think I was around 20 when it came out, but thanks." Um, Daniel, are we gonna see any more?
Well, I think the only one I have left is Eric Kirk.
Okay.
So I don't know if you do want to watch that.
Sure. I mean, we know what it's about, but sure.
Yeah.
That man, that young man, I forgive him.
Okay, all right. I don't want to watch any more of this unless there's something of substance that we need to see. No, this is yeah. Yeah, this is as Akira says, this is the evil of religion. Yeah. How you can possibly react to somebody who, planned and carried out the murder, a murder, but specifically the murder of your husband for, for the fact that he was going around expressing views that this murderer disagreed with, uh, challenged people to debate him. This is, yeah, yeah, naked evil of religion. Akira says, how is this not nihilism? Uh, it's not nihilism because it is evil values in a sense, as opposed to anti-values. Stuart.
I would say it easily leads to nihilism, because if you think that that's what what is moral, and every fiber of your being is saying that's disgusting, then if you don't have an alternative, then the alternative is, well, morality obviously is terrible, and so I guess everything's terrible. Nothing matters. So yeah, I can see how it leads to nihilism, even though it isn't itself nihilism.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much. Again, she lost her husband. And obviously, everybody has their own way of coping, but sort of talking philosophically about these kinds of ideas, then yeah, absolutely. I mean, I will speak out against this rage against whole group of people that is now starting. But there is a proper rage to the person that actually did so. He should, he should get his trial and and get his proper punishment. If it might mean life in prison or might mean death penalty, that will happen. But
I just want to point out what an inversion this whole memorial service is. On the one hand, they are blaming and riling up, creating hate for this amorphous they that killed Charlie Kirk. We should hate them, we should despise them, maybe we should kill them. It's not clear, but they are evil, they are terrible. They deserve no mercy. Trump is like, I do not want the best for them. I want them to suffer. I want Meanwhile, the actual individual that did the violence is forgiven. I mean, it's just complete insanity, complete inversion.
Yeah. And okay, let me go to some comments in the chat that I wanted to address rather than it is a woman grieving, as people are saying in the chat, but this is not something she came up with. This is a part of the philosophy, a part of the philosophy that that they specifically the Kirks were promoting and continue to promote. And yeah, it is not good for them or for any of us, to the extent that it is part of the culture.
Yeah, and also just quickly, she's the one who is making this public. If you go out of public like that, you might expect people will speak out on both appreciative of you and critical of you. So we're not like getting like secret footage of her, at like a private ceremony.
True. I will say, at least she is consistent. I mean, this is what their religion promotes. So she's at least not hypocritical. Whereas someone like Trump, it's like, when he starts talking about religion, it's just I roll my eyes. It's just so absurd. She's at least, I think, sincere. She's sincerely mistaken. But, I do feel for her, obviously. I mean, what she's had to go through is just horrific.
Somebody in the chat asked if we are anti-Trump. We are pro freedom. We're pro capitalism. There's no politician in the mainstream that I think we would be super enthusiastically behind. The views specifically on Trump on this channel vary. I mean, I said, in the last election, if I was an American citizen, I wouldn't have voted. But I also said after the election that I was surprised by how relieved I was that he won. Stuart and Daniel both very strongly disagree with me on that. But yeah, it's.
I don't disagree about your emotions that you were relieved.
Well, but you think it was misguided or what have you. And again, that was specifically, I don't necessarily think it's clear cut who would be worse between Trump and Kamala for America. They both there's a strong case for both of them. I was relieved just because I seriously think whether or not Israel will continue to agree to exist in 4 years was very much in question with and I think what we see now puts that even more into question with Kamala and the White House. But yeah, I'm terrified. I was terrified by what Biden was doing to America, terrified by what Trump is doing, and yeah, and even when I said earlier when John Bolton was mentioned, I'm a big fan of John Bolton. That is within the context of the options, the options that were given, in recent decades. Yeah, I think if Bolton had won whenever it was that he was running or considering running in 2016 or 2012, the world would be a much, much better place. But he is too good for the culture, so he would have no chance of winning.
Yeah, if I can expand a bit more on, whenever I feel sad, I turn on all the presidential US debates. It's it's weird how different it used to be, how you have the both candidates. Well, I respect my fellow opponent. I simply disagree with some of the policies he has. That's how people talked in the 60s, and so it's incredible, and people should look out like all the presidential debates and the way people spoke about the other side, or not even the other side, right? Like the opponent next to them. And if you compare that to the presidential debate between, was there between Kamala Harris and Trump? I don't even
There was
remember.
one, yeah.
There was one.
Yeah.
That one, or the one between Biden and Trump. It's yeah, I mean, it's
The one between Biden and Trump last year was the most civilized I've seen, certainly with Trump in participation. It surprised me how he kind of knew not to over Trump the whole thing and just let Biden be Biden. But yeah, to me there was a shift. Before there was weird things that I saw in debates in the past. I think I brought up the Democratic debate, the presidential debate in the primaries in the Democratic Party. I think it was 2004. This was when Israel was building a barrier in the West Bank to separate the West Bank from Israel proper, and this barrier was part fence, part wall, and the people who were against it were calling it a wall, and the people who were for it were calling it a fence. And there was a question in that debate: is it a fence or is it a wall? And people gave their different answers, and one of them, I can't remember who, maybe it was Howard Dean, said, is if Israel builds a barrier, if Israel builds it on their land, it's a fence. If it's on Palestinian land, it's a wall. And that's not how construction works. But that's how yeah, that was in 2004. When I saw the first Republican debate in 2016, that was next level. As soon as Trump entered that conversation, it went downhill just from him talking, but also people were happy to be dragged down to the sewer with him. So
yeah, I think it was sort of when Trump started doing his antics. People were like, "Oh wow, he can do that. He can. This is actually fun. Like we don't have to talk about boring policies. We can just have fun with talking badly about our opponents." And I think this is something unique that Trump brought, because I was really thinking about, there's this a weird gap that happened with Trump that pretty much divided almost everybody, divided objectivists even on crazy level, to extent that some people even don't talk to each other. And that is sort of like unique Trump thing. Well, I do not remember how the world was, political world was before Trump, but I feel like in the sort of the previous elections, it was almost always clear that yeah, we are almost always supporting Republican, almost whoever it is, unless it's some like unique situation. And yeah, Trump brought something that really divided people, even people who have the same fundamental philosophy.
Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Trolls at the chat. If you want to troll, troll, but if you spam, you will be removed. Daniel, do we have anything else we're gonna watch? And I'm hoping the answer is no. But if there is, we
Nope.
will.
No.
Oh, okay, great. Unfortunately, that's only true for today. We will be watching stuff for coming episodes, and yeah, that I think that well, I never want to promise things for days in advance because then major news stories happen and then we never get to it. But we might get to that Cenk Uygur Tucker Carlson thing because it really does show how there's still a pretense of there being two sides, but the differences are not fundamental, and that's why Tucker and Cenk are so happy to be together. And of course, they're united against a common enemy, the Jews. And you see that even in a short interaction between them. Tomorrow, we will talk about somebody else who is as unpleasant. Owen Jones is the topic of the reality show tomorrow. He went to Palestine, as he calls it. That is the West Bank. And yeah, we're gonna talk about his visit there. Stuart, parting thoughts, and where can people find you?
Yeah, my parting thought is don't let the rhetoric draw you into this, us versus them mentality that the Republicans are pushing. It's very, very dangerous. It's not going to lead anywhere good. You can find me on Substack, stuartmargolis.substack, and also on Facebook.
Daniel, parting thoughts, and where can people find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Damn Dan, and I would add the problem with tribalism, or the biggest thing, that the left and the right simply means our group and other group. It doesn't mean any specific policy. It doesn't mean any specific ideas we are trying to uphold. It's simply us versus them. And the problem with that is that it makes it pretty much impossible to actually talk about almost anything. I mean, we earlier, somebody in the chat was asking, like, are we anti-Trump, right? Well, what about, like, are we supporting proper policies and improper policies instead of are we supporting this specific candidate? And again, what does it mean to be pro-Trump? Simply agree with every single thing he does and says, even when he changes his mind and about what he was for?
Yeah, I'm generally not a fan of starting with what you're anti. You are going to be against certain things if you're pro, other things. Like, if you support the good, you will be against the bad. Yeah, person in the chat who is half spammy and complaining that I don't answer questions. I don't work for you, but I will maybe answer a question if you send it in a super chat. That's how it goes. I was talking about this years ago. There was a London mayoral election in here, and I think we talked about it on the Daily Objective, where one of the candidates, I saw a clip of his. The first thing he says is, "I'm the anti-woke candidate," and he lost me at that point. I did listen a bit more, and he would have lost me again later on. But it says something if the first thing, and I think that is what the right has ultimately become. I mean, it was true before, a bit before, not long before Trump first entered the race in 2015, I believe he announced. Uh, the right is very, very much anti-left, and it's that's not how you run things. That's not how you come up with ideas on how things should be. You don't look at things you don't like and say, I'm going to be against this. And turns out the anti-leftists are not in any fundamental way against the left. So yeah, that's the sad state of affairs. The happier state of affairs is a gathering that's happening in Southern California next month. It's not going to be as big as the gathering we were talking about today, but it doesn't need to be, and it is a positive thing, motivated by positive values. The Irreplaceable Spark Conference, where you will hear, for the first time, a conference where you will hear only from people who have successfully applied objectivism to their work, their business, their career, and have lived to tell the tale. You can get coaching from them. You can interact with them. There's a lot happening at that conference. Objectivism.co.uk is the link where you can find out more about what's happening there and sign up. We hope to see you there. That's in Orange County on the 25th, 26th of October. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Daniel. We'll see you back here tomorrow.